Hello, thank you for stopping by. I'm so glad you're here. In this video, I'm going to be making a frock coat using folkwear pattern 263. This is the countryside frock coat, and it comes in both men's and women's sizes. It looks like a fairly straightforward pattern to make, but I'm going to try to do a few alterations on it, which might complicate things a bit. For the fabric, I'm going to be using some thrifted IKEA curtains. There were 2 panels that I found, and I've already started on this project, so I've cut them up. But this is what it looks like. It is an olive green cotton twill. This is a very densely woven fabric, but it's not very heavyweight. Between both of the curtain panels, I got just shy of 5 yards of fabric for $7. This pattern isn't lined, but at the same time I found the curtain panels to make it out of. I also found this. It's like a very lightweight linen. It feels like a really nice breathable fabric, and there's about 3 yards of it, so that's plenty enough to make a lining for this jacket. For this project, I'm going to be using a Kenmore sewing machine from the mid-1960s. Let's take a closer look at that. It is one of the cooler looking machines that I own, I think. It is a Kenmore number 158161. So this is a pretty straightforward machine, but it's got a few interesting design features to it. It does straight stitch and zigzag, which you adjust with these 2 knobs here. You just turn to adjust the stitch length and the stitch width. This is it has the reverse button right here in the middle of the stitch length. However, to do the zigzag with this machine, you have to have a plastic cam. So if it's right in here in the top, cam 1A is zigzag, 1B is a blind stitch. Now it's time to get to the actual point of this video and start working on the coat. But if you could take a quick second to hit that like button, I would greatly appreciate it. I already have a lot of work done on this project. And did I film it? No, because I am a disorganized mess. But let's walk through what has already been accomplished. I have started off with what did I start with? Mock-ups. I did a couple of mock-ups, so I chose the medium-sized pattern, and this is the first mock-up. The very first thing I noticed was that it is too tight. I need a little bit of more give room through here. The arms are also a little bit too long and baggy, and I think the peplum down here is a bit too long as well. The first adjustments I made were to this front panel. I basically did what's called a large abdomen adjustment to give myself more room in the belly. I just cut the pattern piece open this way and splayed it out at the bottom and in the center, leaving the side seam and the shoulder seam intact, so those didn't change. And it basically just splayed open bigger at the waist and the middle, so that gave me a little bit more room in the belly. Switching to mock-up number 2. I'm pretty happy with the fit on this one. I sewed this sleeve on inside out, but it's a mock-up, so I'm not going to fix it. I'm happy enough with it. But I've got enough room in the belly for it to fit easily with the buttons. Yeah, I did shorten the arms. I shortened the peplum, so now when it's hemmed, it should be about mid-thigh, sort of halfway up from my knees, which I like that better. I think the start of the split in the back sits a little bit higher, which I like. This is a very, very stiff fabric, so the peplum has a little bit more structure to it than the final coat will. So next I went through and cut out all the pattern pieces. Obviously, I put the interfacing where the interfacing ought to be. I had horsehair for a lot of it, but I ran out of the horsehair interfacing. I just used some of this pink cotton broadcloth that I have. It should work fairly well. I started making the shell using the final fabric and the modified pattern pieces, and I'm really proud of myself. I think it fits great. So just like the second mock-up, it's got a good amount of ease around it so that I can wear it over things, but it still has a nice fitted look to it, especially in the abdomen where most of my alterations were concentrated. It fits well without having a lot of weird bagginess or tightness, but it also still is nice and close to the back without any bagginess or tightness. Honestly, this is the fitting issue that I've struggled with the most, is how to get things to fit around my belly and look good. So I think I'm making a little bit of progress of learning how to do that. I'm going to credit that progress to this book. So this isn't necessarily the fanciest way of doing things, but it's a really simple and easy way to understand basic pattern alterations. It's got women and men's pattern alterations in it. So here is the method I use for the abdomen adjustments. It was super simple and it worked really well. There's a large derriere adjustment in there too, but it's not anything I need to worry about. It has basic directions for any adjustment you would need. Uneven shoulders, heavy arms, goes through all like the basic shortening and lengthening directions. Gives you all the same directions for pants, jackets, and shirts. And it's really just a great resource for general fit information. So one thing I want to do is alter this to put a zipper on the front. I'm not sure how that's going to work because the center front here is this yellow line, so it's a little bit offset, and that's where the zipper needs to be. And there is a front facing and collar piece all in one that I'm going to sew onto this and have it just all one long piece. The front collar and the front facing are all one connected piece, which is strange. So I'm not sure how I'm going to add the zipper in and handle having the button flap sticking over. I'm gonna have to think about that one a little bit. And also, like I said before, I'm going to line the coat. The pattern doesn't come with a lining, so I'm gonna have to make one, sort of make my own pattern for it, which is simple enough, except I need to subtract for the facings. So I don't want to put the lining over the facing. I want to attach the lining to the facing, if that makes sense. And since I'm not sure exactly how I'm doing the zipper and everything, I wanted to resolve that before I figured out what shape I need to make the lining pieces. All right, so that's it. I'm gonna get started doing some more work and see how I can figure this out. All right, I have the peplum attached. So the coat is almost completely finished per the instructions that came with it. The center back vent here came out very nice and tidy. I'm happy with that one. There were side seam pockets, or there are side seam pockets that happened at the peplum, it works all right because it's waist length, like the waist height and everything. So I did end up unpicking the facing and the collar piece and installing the zipper. I'm pretty happy with how that came out too. It is sandwiched between the two pieces on the right front. So here's the zipper on the right front. It goes almost all the way down to the bottom of the jacket. And then on the left front here, I just like top stitched the zipper onto the left front facing, sort of on the interior edge here. So as I zip it up, the left front will lap over the right front. So when I get the buttons attached, that will keep this down. The one thing I'm really not happy with is the collar. Specifically the lack of structure to it. So what I've done is I sort of basted the collar area together here, and then I went through and basted this line right here where the outer collar is attached, and I basted it to the under collar. What I want to do is just come through and stitch in the ditch here to attach everything together, and then I'm going to do that sort of thing where you do a few like zigzag, like large triangular stitches to hold it all together and give it structure. Once I'm done with the extra stitching that I'm going to add to the collar, I will draft the lining pieces, hem it, and then buttons, and that's all she'll write. That's all she will have written when I'm done. Pearl, what's your opinion on the jacket so far? No opinion? You just want to bite? Well, that's rude. That's the last time I ask for your opinion. So the stitching on the collar came out really well. Ignore the chalk marks that are still there. I need to wash this, but you can kind of see that I stitched through the top, and the collar definitely looks like its own separate piece now on either side. Then I stitched down these like triangular patterns on the collar to give it a little bit more structure. A little bit of a like quilting, hold it all together, which looks nice. I have started to set in the lining pieces individually. So I just whip stitched in the sleeves on either side, and I have started on the lining pieces on the bottom peplum. So I've got the bottom peplum on either side stitched in because I had to sort of make it a little bit bigger in the belly. I want to pad out the chest and the rear end a little bit, just to balance the proportions out just a little. Now I'm going to go through with the remaining lining pieces. Like I said, like here's the bottom back peplum, just whip stitch the edges. fold under the edges, press them down, and then whip stitch them into place. I am almost done adding the lining pieces to the bottom of the jacket, and I have run into a problem that I'm not super sure how to proceed with. So my clever idea of adding padding to the rear end area of this has had the side effect of creating sort of a stiffness to the back of it. The peplum is just too skirt-like and just sticking out too much. This is just not what I'm wanting. So I think I'm going to go through, take out this padding in the rear end. There was a germ of an idea here, but... So what I have decided to do, and it kind of breaks my heart a little bit, is to unpick the lining pieces from the back peplum with the padding on them and redraft them and replace them. I think that another thing I'm going to do to remove some of the fullness from the peplum is just sort of take kind of like a dart, like a pizza-shaped wedge out of them, and see if that helps remove the fullness and it still looks wearable. So if I do that in equal pieces on either side of the back peplum, that might work. I don't know, we'll see how it ends up going. Here is the almost finished frock coat. I have the lining in it fully, but some of the pieces are just basted in. I haven't finished hand stitching them. This frock coat has a nice comfy fit to it. The peplum area is quite a bit different from anything I've done before, and I still don't know how I feel about it. It's a little bit of a different style than I'm used to, but I'm digging it. The one issue that I'm coming up with is that it tends to wrinkle a lot. I've washed this thing. I made sure all the materials were machine washable. So I've washed it and I've ironed this peplum out a few times, and it still wrinkles a little bit and it still sits a little bit stiff, but it does seem to be softening as I wash it more. So that helps with the way it hangs and the fullness. I didn't take any fullness out of the front here, but I did go ahead and take that fullness out of the back area, and that worked really well. It's sort of laying much nicer there. There are two seams right here, one on either side, where I took that wedge of fabric out, and that really took some of the fullness out of the back peplum. Right now the lining is pulling out of the sleeve a little bit. I think I'm going to go through and hand stitch in a little bit to hold the lining in place. The cuffs on this jacket are nice. They give the end of the sleeve a nice finished look. Now I'm going to take this off to look at the lining, because even with the AC going, I am still sweating to death. The snaps hold well, but they also unsnap easily. This bright yellow lining goes really well with it. I'm very happy with that. It doesn't necessarily show too much as you're wearing it around. You just get the sort of occasional flash of yellow. It's mostly going to be visible when I take it on and off, but I like that a lot. You're looking at the arm side of the jacket. So this is the sleeve here that I'm moving around. And you can see the lining that I still have just basted in place to the facings. I swear I will eventually get around to actually stitching this lining in place. I might end up wearing it a few times with the pieces just basted in, but nobody has to know about that. If you have enjoyed this video of making a frock coat, you might also enjoy one of my very first YouTube videos of making a sack coat. It will be on the screen or in the description below. Depends on what format you're watching it on. It would be amazing if you could give the video a like, and if you have not already, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the future.